Akzeptabel, dass jemand ohne deine Zustimmung einen Dokumentarfilm über dich dreht. Wie würdest du dich fühlen, wenn dir das passieren würde?
Das ist definitiv nicht akzeptabel. Das ist scheinbar und kleinlich.
Ich würde mich geheuchelt fühlen. Ich denke ja, wenn sie dich loben.
Wollen Sie zuallererst, dass jemand einen Dokumentarfilm über dich dreht? Willst, dass es ein cooler Dokumentarfilm wird, der zeigt, wer du bist, was du getan hast und alles, was du erreicht hast. Ein Dokumentarfilm ist eine große Sache. Du willst nicht, dass jemand einen Dokumentarfilm über jemanden dreht und versucht, deine ganze Persönlichkeit schwach aussehen zu lassen. Das wäre kleinliches Verhalten.
Ich möchte die Firma kennenlernen, die das gemacht hat, damit wir darüber reden können. Verstehst du, was ich meine? Denn wenn es an mir liegt, dann brauche ich meine.
Aber er hat...
However, he anticipated that this would spin out of control. However, a peaceful podcast discussion turned into a boisterous can of issues. A few careless remarks became a major online sensation, and 50 Cent was on the offensive before anyone could back down. What had begun as a generic conversation became into a personal one, and after 50 seemed even a little tested, the reaction was swift and brutal. This is how it transpired. The crew debated documentaries and whether it's appropriate for someone to have their story told without their consent on their podcast. They maintained generality. There are no direct call-outs or names given. To be honest though, the timing said it all. The connections were far too obvious when 50 Cent was in the news for making a documentary on Diddy. 50 wasn't buying it at all, despite the fact that they attempted to keep it clean and never mentioned 50 Cent or Diddy. That exchange sounded to him like a sneak peek disguised in courteous podcast discourse. Everyone is aware that 50 does not overlook sneak shots. The ideology they were promoting is now the source of the actual tension. Basically, the point was that it can feel unethical to make a documentary about someone without their consent. But let's be truthful. Those who fear that their path may catch up to them are the only ones who truly dread that thought. The unpleasant reality is that the subject's blessing is not necessary for a documentary to exist. It is more than sufficient if a public figure is surrounded by others who can comment on what transpired. That's how stories are told, and that's typically how the truth is revealed. Everything is abruptly softened, cleaned up, and carefully regulated once the subject is involved. Consider it this way. Are you truly getting the truth, or simply their preferred version of it, if you allow someone to create their own documentary? Just that. People usually want to seem well, especially if the narrative isn't positive. Because of this, raw documentaries typically take place without authorization, which intensifies their impact. From the standpoint of the 1950s, the reasoning is straightforward. Nothing would ever be revealed if creators had to obtain consent each time they discussed someone's behavior. There would never be any accountability.
Verstehe schon, warum das legal ist, wenn man das ohne jemanden macht. Wenn du einen Dokumentarfilm machst, wenn ich einen Dokumentarfilm über dich mache, warum solltest du dann nicht wollen, dass die beteiligte Person interagiert? Ein Dokumentarfilm ist mehr wie ein Dokumentarfilm.
Weißt du, was ich meine?
Es schien, als ob man gegen die Person ist, wenn man sie nicht benutzt. Ich denke, es sollte so heißen.
Wie kann man das überhaupt nennen? Man kann einen Dokumentarfilm machen, wenn es keiner ist.
Es ist immer noch ein Dokumentarfilm. Es ist keine Autobiografie, aber es ist ein Dokumentarfilm. Denn wenn man einmal eine Person des öffentlichen Lebens ist.
In keiner der Dokumentationen über Pablo Escobar, die ich gesehen habe, kannten ihn die Leute. Alle sagten, du verstehst, was ich meine.
Wenn man einmal eine Person des öffentlichen Lebens ist, kann man gegoogelt werden.
Denkst du, dass das falsch ist oder nicht?
Ich denke, es ist falsch. Es stimmt dem auch nicht. Ich denke, wir sind uns alle einig, dass es falsch ist. Und
furthermore, it would be impossible to present the whole tale with someone like Diddy participating. Nobody desires there. The worst times are emphasized, particularly when there is actual historical context. Despite the podcast crew's best efforts to be indirect, 50 took it personally and responded in typical 50 Cent fashion. There were no lengthy lectures or back-and-forth arguments, just an insightful Instagram post that completely changed the course of the discussion. He suddenly accused them of using a location they don't even fully pay for to record their show. 50 claims that these individuals owe $250,000 for the space they are using. People were taken aback by that amount alone, especially considering how well-kept, costly, and polished the set appears on camera. The actual pain then arrived. 50 made fun of them for allegedly being behind on important expenses while pursuing style prizes and public acclaim. He bluntly referred to them as squatters and questioned how one could flaunt wealth while purportedly having trouble maintaining order in their firm. That's the kind of remark that sticks rather than just hurts. To be fair, none of this has been confirmed, but the claim was sufficient on its own to change the entire story. All of a sudden, the topic of documentaries was no longer being discussed. It has to do with money management, image against reality, and business discipline. The fact that these musicians had been in the business for many years only made it worse. By now, people anticipate development, wisdom, and astute actions. Therefore, there was an awkward question when 50 made that assertion. Did they truly learn how to safeguard their own operations after all these years? One thing is certain. Regardless of whether 50 jumped the gun or revealed anything genuine, he was not going to allow anyone to criticize his actions without retaliating. And he did it loudly, in public, and in a way that was impossible to ignore. The only way he knew how. There's more to this than just podcast drama. It serves as a reminder that perception and reality don't always coincide. Additionally, you never know who is listening or how they will react once words are posted online. Silence is never the solution when it comes to 50 Cent. The math is not math at all, so let's take a moment to slow things down. Are you saying that you somehow owe $250,000 for a podcast space after playing the game for more than 20 years? People were stunned by that figure alone, especially considering that podcasts are being filmed in pristine studios throughout the city at a much lower cost. Just a few episodes are released each week.
Ein Dokumentarfilm? Man möchte nicht, dass jemand einen Dokumentarfilm über jemanden dreht, der versucht, deine gesamte Figur schwach aussehen zu lassen. Das wäre kleinliches Benehmen.
Ich verstehe nicht, warum so etwas legal sein soll.
Dokumentarfilm ist eher so ein Mist. Findest du das falsch oder nicht?
Ich bin da nicht dabei. Er hat diesen Clip gepostet und dann auch noch einen und ich muss mir ansehen, was wahr ist und was nicht.
Nennt uns Hausbesetzer.
Ja, er hat euch Hausbesetzer genannt und gesagt, dass ihr ihm $250.000 schuldet. Stimmt das?
Ich weiß nichts über mich. Ich weiß nichts darüber.
However, it is interesting discussing why so many prominent members of the business jumped to Diddy's defense. Moreover, in actuality, that section says a lot. It's not about protecting a single man for many of these guys. They are defending a culture that they have been a part of for many years. A culture that minimizes, justifies, or dismisses certain behaviors as unimportant. The unsettling reality is that a lot of these musicians identify with Diddy, not literally, but ethically and professionally. They are aware of the power relationships, the unbridled authority, and the long-accepted behind-the-scenes conduct. As a result, when Diddy receives criticism, it feels personal to them, as if they might be the next in line for attention. People could be surprised by the replies if you truly broke it down and asked tough questions in private. Many professionals in the field would discreetly respond no when asked if such activities should end a career. It's not because it's right, but rather because the standards for accountability in a male-dominated environment have been dangerously lowered. And let's face it, no one likes to acknowledge it in public. Thus, rather than openly endorsing Diddy, they do so through provocative queries and ambiguous arguments. Things like raising concerns about justice, permits, or documentaries. On the surface, it sounds neutral, but if you're paying attention, the subtext is loud. 50 reads right through it because of this. Curiosity did not reach his ears. He heard the word for safety. He changed course and pursued a different aim as soon as he sensed that energy. Fantastic. This time, 50 shared an old collection of Diddy, openly expressing his love for several rappers throughout the years, along with a statement that questioned how such actions went unpunished for so long.
Aber um das Ganze mal ins rechte Licht zu rücken, was hast du gesagt? Du hast nicht gezielt.
Nein, wir machen keinen Podcast. Wir reden nicht über Leute. Wir nehmen Dinge auf und verinnerlichen sie. Wir haben darüber gesprochen. Es war eine allgemeine Diskussion darüber, ob Leute das Recht haben, einen Dokumentarfilm über dich zu drehen und wie du dich fühlen würdest, wenn du es wärst. Ich verstehe, worauf du hinaus willst, aber ich will auch nicht einfach so daherreden, als ob es nur Schein ist.
Hier ist die vollständige Diskussion, über die ihr gesprochen habt. Es ging im Grunde nur um Rechtliches.
Darum ging es.
Und dann hast du angefangen, über Sexvideos zu sprechen. Irgendwie kommt es immer wieder darauf zurück. Folgendes ist passiert.
Ist es akzeptabel, dass jemand ohne deine Zustimmung einen Dokumentarfilm über dich dreht? Wie würdest du dich fühlen, wenn dir das passieren würde?
Das ist definitiv nicht akzeptabel. Das ist doch banal und kleinlich, oder? Das ist, als würde jemand ein Sexvideo veröffentlichen.
Subtlety was not the aim. It was uncomfortable. 50 wanted people to observe how commonplace some situations become, without a single voice. He wasn't making accusations. He was making as much noise as he could to start a conversation. The last jab came next. 50 said in passing that he was thinking of purchasing the actual location where the podcast is recorded, not making a joke, not making fun of it, but stating it clearly. In essence, he said, "If you want my attention this bad, I'll make time." The room shook just from that cue. He reiterated that he doesn't make baseless threats. He claims that if the economics add up, he will take over and take ownership of both the facility and a portion of the podcast business. Whether it occurs or not, that is a powerful move. Even those observing from the sidelines initially believed that 50 could be stretching. Perhaps he misinterpreted. Perhaps the debt figure was incorrect. Perhaps everything was overstated. Again, though, whether or not every aspect was flawless wasn't the main point. It was how quickly a light-hearted discussion escalated into a full-fledged public altercation. Furthermore, 50 Cent doesn't ask questions twice when he feels challenged, even if it's indirectly. He reacts loudly, strategically, and with just the right amount of turmoil to keep everyone interested. To be honest, I initially felt the information was incorrect. I mean, why?
Ja, wenn man will. Ja, genau.
Ich weiß nicht, ob das vergleichbar ist. Sex muss dafür sorgen. Das, ja. Aber Dokumentationen, die können Leute machen.
Sie tun sie alle. Das wissen wir. Ja, das wissen wir. Aber weißt du, jeder trinkt Unterwäsche in Hülle und Fülle? Oh mein Gott.
Es fühlt sich nicht so an, als wäre das eine große Sache.
Ich weiß, es ist nix. Aber die Sache ist die, dass es nicht die Absicht war, reinzukommen. Wenn du filmst und sagst, sie und diese Typen und du hast ein Foto und ich bin auf dem Foto, dann fotografiere ich zurück und es ist mit wem auch immer. Es ist mit wem auch immer, wann auch immer.
Wir wissen,
Was auch immer.
wir wissen es. Ja. Alles klar. Nun, danke, dass du das klargestellt hast, denn die Leute denken sich, du wirst nicht hier oben sein und es nicht ansprechen und darüber reden.
Absolut. Wir machen unseren Podcast nicht dafür, das zu tun. Wir machen ihn zu einer Sendung uns selbst. Aber jeder schießt aus irgendeinem Grund auf uns ein. Weißt du, was ich meine?
Es tut mir leid.
Nein, mir geht es gut. Mir geht es gut. Ich sage es nur.
That moment gave me the impression that 50 was exactly correct, perhaps even more accurate than people were willing to acknowledge. Let's be genuine for a moment. Launching a whole new company, and it's crazy to lose $250,000 in just 2 months. Growing pains are not what that is. Mismanagement is what that is. Particularly if this isn't a huge corporation. It's a podcast. Even with one concert each week and expense reduction, the debt is still overwhelming. The question posed was straightforward, uncomplicated, and unloaded. Have you made the rent payment? That's all. Furthermore, it speaks louder than words when someone answers a simple inquiry hesitantly, deflectively, or confusedly. Are your bills paid? I would be asked. The response would be obvious. Is it true or not? No confusion, no side chatter, and no stories. That's typically the answer when the reaction shifts from a certain yes to I don't know what you mean. This explains why a large number of viewers reached the same conclusion. It appeared that the problem was not addressed, the money was not paid, and the balance was genuine. That gave the allegations a sense of legitimacy, whether or not people agreed with them. This is the point at which everything truly started to go sideways. Following the radio interview, Mino chose to reply to 50 Cent directly on Instagram. To be honest, such action did absolutely nothing to strengthen his case. The message immediately descended into ridicule rather than addressing the real problem. A heavily edited image, jokes, and a caption that bounced between respect and contempt. He may be thankful one moment and disparaging the next. That kind of conflicting energy only made everything appear more disorganized. The caption itself was disorganized. Although it seems like I don't want issues, I'm prepared if they arise. That's the kind of reaction that doesn't make things better. It simply increases the strain. It made me think of two people facing each other, each saying they don't want to fight, but neither of them giving up. Particularly when pride is involved and the internet is watching, such intensity never ends well. The post's total avoidance of the primary subject made it worse. There were only jokes and small conversation, no explicit denial, no justification for the funds, and no receipts. Additionally, people filled in the spaces on their own when you avoided the main problem. At this point, the situation shifted from being about humor to perception. Whether it was fair or not, the people began to favor the 1950s version just because it had details and confidence. The entire situation serves as a warning about how quickly things may go out of control. Reputations, finances, and integrity are all suddenly under scrutiny after just one podcast discussion or Instagram post. And once it reaches that point, the focus shifts from being louder to being clearer. Because explanations are never as powerful as silence, bewilderment, and diversion. The energy completely changes at this point, and you can practically feel the nerves through the screen. It's that uncomfortable place when a person is making a lot of effort to avoid appearing weak. Yet their anxiety is still showing through. To be honest, many people's preconceived notions were essentially reinforced by Mino's next move. The response didn't sound at all confident when 50 Cent suggested purchasing the building where they are filming. Rather than remaining steadfast, Mino leapt onto the internet and sent out a message that seemed more like panic cloaked in jokes. He questioned why 50 would purchase half of the podcast, that is, the building, when he could simply purchase the complete item and convert it to 100 cents. Although it sounds clever on the surface, there was a clear message hidden beneath the humor. Simply cut the bill to put an end to this. That's hardly a bold statement. Damage control is that. And there you have it, the error. You can't get out of a predicament with 50 Cent by making jokes. That game is not played by that man. He perceives it as weakness rather than humor when you combine praise with challenge. This has already been demonstrated by history. Nevertheless, many continue to try it. The friendly tension method wasn't even tried for the first time. Anyone who's paying attention can recall how comparable energy manifested itself in previous circumstances. I hope it strikes a mix between a little respect and a little trash talk. However, that equilibrium is never maintained with 50. He doesn't loosen up once he locks in. Silence would have been the best course of action because of this. Distancing, sly jokes, and witty captions are not acceptable. Simply stay away from the subject entirely and allow it to disappear. Because he, not you, sets the pace after you enter his lane. Right now, it seems like things are already getting worse. The back and forth energy, the jokes, and the threats. When the other man has more money, thicker skin, and years of public conflicts under his belt, that's not a nice place to be. This will only get louder if it continues to escalate. Ultimately, this incident served as a lesson in understanding who not to poke. Some people thrive on turbulence, and 50 Cent has made a name for himself by never giving up when faced with a struggle. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you liked this breakdown and would like to see more genuine, uncensored celebrity drama in the future. Check out the next video that appears on your screen before you go. It delves into yet another bizarre scenario in which the industry utterly collapsed. You won't want to miss that one, I promise. I'll see you at the next.